The project we undertook was really quite a challenging project in an historic part of the city that has seen a vibrancy to decay and hopefully vibrancy again today. The common connector was the Red Luas line, which we, I think, see as a lifeline through the area, connecting various nodes and interventions that are possible. A unique immigrant population, a unique population profile in terms of younger people and cultural diversity, I think, which really bodes well for the future and the potential interventions that we've explored.
The complex is a multidisciplinary arts movement, we've politely called ourselves, that has specialised in converting vacant spaces into arts facilities. The most difficult places to access are places that are in receivership, because the receivers are not autonomous, they're responsible to the bank. None of the banks, including NAMA, have a mandate, I'm told, for any social or community responsibility. So beyond their brief, which is making maximum profit out of the asset that they have, there is no wider context in which they view any kind of request. I think it's a tragedy that there were so many vacant spaces. I think that there's obviously a crisis in homelessness as well, and the two things could so easily be fixed, but there needs to be a group of services that work together. There are hundreds of square feet of vacant space and they're frozen.
The Luas corridor from O'Connell Street to Houston is one of the critical parts of the city. It's part of the city centre. In planning terms, it's zone Z5, which is a city centre zoning. It has some tremendous assets and resources. It has the National Museum, it has the Luas, which is a very high quality new tram system. But the area in general, the corridor in general, is underperforming very significantly. There's a lot of vacant sites. There's some derelict or dilapidated buildings. So we began to look at this area, the O'Connell Street to Houston corridor, as an experiment, just to see what the issues are there, how could things be improved, and then learn from that. And so we were delighted that the UCD students were interested in doing a project. Students will have a fresh approach, and they have the capacity to be, critical in a negative way even, say that this is, not acceptable, or this shouldn't happen, or they can be high ambition and saying, look, this is a part of the city that could be dramatically improved, that could be a huge resource, economic resource for the city. I think that, I think it's really good for students to be engaged with a real project, so that it's not, in that kind of negative sense, it's not purely an academic project.
With these three parties collaborating, we launched into this project, and on the way also engaged with various stakeholders in the city, in addition to city planners, also members of the community, business owners, and so on. The first phase for the students was to have a look at the existing literature to understand what the nature of the problem of underutilization of urban areas is. How do we deal, what are the new and recent approaches to redevelopment of urban core areas and regeneration of urban core. The second phase for the students was actually to undertake on-site research and to understand and learn and analyze as much as possible within the time frame that they had about this particular area. So the students used secondary data from the Bureau, Census Bureau, and other sources, local and national sources of information. They analyzed the information using statistical procedures, but also geographic information systems in order to visualize the information better. They also did on-site on-site work, field work in terms of collecting the data by talking to residents, talking to tourists, interviewing business owners and other community members. Based on that second phase, the students actually engaged in the final phase, which had to do with the generating a strategy, a set of ideas, a set of proposals and actions that should be able to contribute to improvements to this area. Again, the benefit was the three-way communications, the learning between students, the learning students gained from talking to planners and the community members, the Dublin City Council gained from fresh ideas and I'd like to say somewhat unbiased and neutral ideas that were coming from the students, neutral in the sense that they were experiences less pressure, political issues and pressures that usually urban projects do experience. And finally, our research also benefited from this full interaction between the parties in the project.
So from our research and findings, it was clear that we needed a holistic, integrated approach to address the various issues that we identified. So rather than tackle each problem individually, a systematic approach was deemed to be a better way to resolve the perceived issues. As a result, the overall strategy for the project was comprised of three themes: green urban realm, housing and community, and development and enterprise. Each of the proposed interventions falls primarily into one of these categories, but also relates to the other two themes so as to create an interrelated and systematic plan. Green urban realm includes the greening of the urban environment and the enhancement of the connectivity within the area. Housing and community aims to deal with the social issues and to create a forum for community development, while development and enterprise has built regeneration and local business development at its core. Upon review of the area, we chose three key nodes from which development and growth could be catalysed. They centred on Collins Barracks and Croppy's Acre Memorial Park, Smithfield South and the fruit and vegetable markets. The decision to choose these particular places was based on current local assets that could be exploited and on locating the primary interventions in close proximity to them. Through these nodes, the three themes of the strategy could then manifest themselves.
So Croppy's Acres is one of our main intervention. It is located on the west end of our area, and we think that it has a fantastic potential to become a very resourceful and a very beneficial amenity for the resident and tourists around. We thought that Croppy's Acre would actually be able to cater to different needs of the population, the elderly, the children, the tourists, teenagers, and in that sense we wanted to maybe divide little sections within this park to actually offer different activities, whether it's a little terrace with a coffee shop or a playground or sitting spaces with protective awnings, anything that would actually bring people around and make the area, this park, useful. We also do understand that it is a memorial site and that we have to respect the memorial stones there and this very important nature of the site. So we will make sure that we will keep those memorial stones free of human activities. But in general, our vision is to green the area and that the park will start this idea of greening the whole section and the streets and bring the aesthetic aspects kind of in the forefront to actually bring people to the streets, make the area much more pleasant and considered by the people using it.
In regards to housing, we focus on providing more inclusive housing along the Red Line corridor. One of our main proposals involves the expansion of the Dublin House project into the north side of the city. Currently being trialled on Fishamble Street in the South City Centre, the Dublin House project aims to provide family-sized units in an urban setting. To do this, multiple families all buy into a co-op that will own and finance the construction of a new multi-family building, thus providing accessible urban living for larger groups than just a single person. To bring this project to the Red Line corridor, we propose a slight alteration to the strategy employed on Fishamble Street. Rather than building new on a vacant site, Dublin House North Side would instead bring together a co-op to renovate a historic building in the corridor. Specifically, we looked at the Dublin City Council-owned building on Benburb Street and Ellis Court. It is a classic Victorian building and while the inside has been gutted by fire, the facade is still intact, and we believe it would improve the life of the area if the building was renovated and inhabited again.
An important facet of our strategy is development and enterprise. How exactly this is done is very important. We wanted to involve the community throughout so they benefit directly. Given the large number of vacant units, which can act as a drag on the area, it is important to return some of the vacant units back into use and draw economic activity back to the area, thereby addressing social and environmental issues. To do this, we have proposed a number of ideas. One of these is the Community Enterprise Exchange. This is intended as a platform for local business, which will provide advice, support for local people looking to create a business. This can include low-cost office space, essential skills and guidance such as HR, accounting, marketing, and funding itself. The aim of the Community Enterprise Exchange would be to eventually bring vacant units back into use through these local businesses and bring employment back to the area. It would have the additional benefit of improving the streetscape. In order to further promote business and enterprise in the area, a series of urban workshops are proposed in the current Civil Defence headquarters near the Croppies Acre Memorial Park. The proposal seeks to provide a location for a variety of crafts and light or creative industry. The fruit and vegetable market is one of the key segments of the Red Line Luas. Dublin City Council's plan to regenerate the market reflects the changing area while still representing its original character. The mix of retail and wholesale, along with the improvement of the area of the market facing the Luas, should serve as a catalyst to draw foot traffic from Capel Street westward. This is hoped to complement our other proposals.
While our research highlighted a number of specific and interrelated issues, it was clear that the area has the potential to be a very successful part of the city. The existing local assets, so the diverse local population, the historic built realm, or the Luas infrastructure, combined with the proposed interventions, should provide the basis for social, environmental, and economic rejuvenation.